All right, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for coming out. We've got kind of a two-part press conference here. Talk a little bit about weather and flooding, and then we'll be talking about Danny Wimmer Presents and their activities. So first, I want to start with an overview of our city's response to the heavy rains this week, which, of course, started over the weekend and are expected to continue through tomorrow. Hopefully, the worst is past us. As in any potential emergency situation, MSD, our city's public works, and first responders have been and will continue to be in communication with our community about all the conditions, especially changing conditions. Yesterday, our Emergency Operations Center, our EOC, was activated for a good part of the day to level 1, which is a situational awareness status, meaning we are tracking the weather and responding accordingly. The National Weather Service is predicting up to 2 inches of rain through tonight, with storms that could produce additional flash flooding, especially since the ground, as we all know, is already saturated. So we're still on a flash flood watch until 2 p.m. tomorrow, and emergency management will continue to monitor conditions and activate the EOC as appropriate. For rescue calls, thankfully, Louisville Fire had only 1 rescue call yesterday, and so far we've had none today. We've had some motorists try to drive through standing water, which we're going to talk a little bit more about in a minute. Let's just please continue to communicate on that. From the rains that we had the week before last, it is clear that as a society we need to be talking more about the dangers of driving into standing water. So until we have 100% awareness of that, we still have got a lot to do. And obviously, we're asking our media partners to be great assistance in that. MSD tells us their call center has answered hundreds of calls over the past few days related to the heavy rains, and they've had crews out monitoring stormwater, drainage channels, and pipes and catch basins. Tony Parrott is here if he can answer any specific questions on that. Public Works is patrolling roads to clear any clogged catch basins and reduce flooding, and they've got crews on standby to replace barricades if streets must be closed. Vanessa Burns can answer further questions on that. And as we've talked about in the past few weeks, city agencies and MSD are working on some options for improving our signage and warnings around viaducts related to heavy rains. 17 of our 32 viaducts don't have signs advising folks not to enter when flooded, and we're working to get those installed at all of the viaducts, so we'll just continue to improve in that area. Public Works is also working with MSD to identify the potential standing water depth in each of these viaducts so we can then paint visible markers there as another warning to keep people from driving through during a heavy rain event. Jody Myman, who's behind me, our Director of Emergency Management Services, will tell you 6 inches of rain of standing water will stall your car, and 12 inches will move your car. And most people just don't believe it. Unfortunately, they believe it when it happens to their vehicles. So please, 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 let's continue to emphasize that. We have a slide going up here at some point that will emphasize that point. So we can't say it enough. Just get the mantra out there. Turn around. Don't drown. It's a choice that people can make. Okay, so before we move on to update from Danny Wimmer Presents, we can take questions if you have any about the overall flooding response. We've got the folks here that can answer that. So, any questions?
Was the Emergency Operations Center put on alert a couple weeks ago?
Yes, and we can get more details here.
Yes, it was put on alert a couple weeks ago. I'm assuming you're referencing September 8th. Yes, it was put on alert at about 8:18 on that Saturday evening.
Who makes the call to do that? Is it you or the mayor or somebody else?
I do that. Or my designee. It's varied over the last couple of weeks. If you look at the rainfall from yesterday, we got anywhere from 1.2 inches to just over 3 inches all over the metro. And yesterday was a little bit different. We've been talking about viaduct flooding, but we had some situations yesterday where it was just roadways that were flooded. So, just because you're driving away from a viaduct doesn't allow you to let your guard down when it comes to driving into flooded roadways. And something else that we saw yesterday was, the ponding of water on roadways, expressways, and things like that. So that can escalate our accident numbers as well during these rain events.
Can you talk about
So obviously we have several emergency responders, police, fire, EMS that are out, patrolling, responding to incidents out throughout, and they let Metro Safe know when they come about some place, whether it's a viaduct or a roadway that's flooded. MSD and Public Works always also has a team that's out patrolling the areas as well, looking for flooded roadways, looking for for sewer drains and things like that could be clogged up. That could be causing some of that to fix those problems.
So has there not been like one agency that's in charge of making that decision?
No, it's a group effort between several agencies.
And so the intersection of like 13th and Oak, 15th and Oak,
Mm-hmm.
was blocked off this time and it wasn't on September 8th. Is that an acknowledgement that the city could have or should have done more on September 8th?
Well, I mean, it's one of those things where it may not have been found that it was flooded, just depending on, how fast it flooded. The amount of rain that we got on September 8th was a lot more at one time than we got yesterday, so it filled up a lot quicker. So like I said, I mean, it's those agencies that are out looking at those areas that are prone to flooding.
You want to mention the difference in the calls for service, too?
Yes, we had, yesterday, like I said, the amount of calls for service almost quadrupled on September 8th. When it came to that, Louisville Fire responded to 63 water incidents on September 8th, and yesterday it was 1. So, just the difference in the amount of rain, the location of the rain in Metro, we can't emphasize enough. Like I said, I mean, it's one of those things where you have to take a look and allow more time when it rains. You have to not only looking at places that always flood or could potentially flood, but even just the ponding of the roadway. So, just a little bit of water, and that's what the public doesn't understand, can take your vehicle. And also not just driving in it, but walking through it as well. It can sweep you off your feet and, puts you into a situation that you may not be able to get out of.
Parents for crews or anything out and about over the next few hours, or the next few days?
Yes, we'll take a look at as this weather comes in. The weather forecast for this evening, they've lifted somewhat of the slight severe weather more north, but they said that, the National Weather Service says that we still could get some strong thunderstorms. And if we experience anything over of about an inch per hour, that's where we could still have some problems. So we will have crews out through the evening as needed.
When's the city expect to have those new warning systems next to the viaducts ready?
Immediately, we can take a look at some of those, some of the viaducts that the mayor mentioned that didn't have any signage, and that's something that we can get out and do very, very soon. And we're working with MSD to look at the gauges to put in there to activate some of the warning devices and get a time frame and how much that's going to cost.
So the time frame is not set yet?
No, it has not. And we've also been able to work with MSD and Public Works to see some of the data, some of the real-time data that they're capturing and how that can help us out as far as, how much rain they're actually getting in certain locations and if their pumps are kicking on in certain locations and things like that. And that will drive us to see some of these flood-prone areas. And we're also going to compare it to some of the historical data of the flooding events that we've had over the last couple of years.
Do you feel like the city is doing enough to warn citizens about the areas that are particularly flooded?
We are. We're getting out and we're getting the word out. We're again, we've learned a lot of the capabilities of MSD and Public Works and how we can utilize that to get some of these places blocked, maybe a little bit quicker. Yes, and also, I mention it every time. We've also got Lens Alert, our Louisville emergency notification system that people, it's a little proactive. You need to take about 10 minutes and go in and sign up for that. And set up your profile, your Smart 911 profile, and you can get those alerts, and we can, draw certain geographic locations if that's an area that's flooding, or we can do the entire county. We can do jurisdictional boundaries across counties if we need to, if we have those problems. And pay attention to those, what we call an iPause alert. It's an alert that comes from the National Weather Service. And, when you get that flood warning, flash flood warning alert, pay attention to that and know that, there's the potential to have flash flooding anywhere inside the area.
Thank you, Jody. We're going to go ahead and move on.
And that comes to all cell phones, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Right. So the iPause alert comes to all cell phones, right? So the main thing we have to do, and as a city with media, is just continue to raise awareness. I mean, there's personal accountability associated with this as well. So you all in the media have been helping, but you can really help us a lot get these messages out. Okay, let's transition now to something that's become a huge part of our city, and that's kind of our festival and festival life. Before we get into Bourbon and Beyond and Louder Than Life, I just want to add a couple things. One is Waterfront Wednesday is scheduled for tomorrow at 6 o'clock, so given the conditions that we expect tomorrow, that will continue to go on, but we'll play that by ear. The Iroquois Amphitheater show on Thursday, that's undercover, so that's definitely going to be taking place. And then this weekend, there's all kinds of stuff. The reason why I mention this is there are people that were coming to town for Louder Than Life that are still coming to town. And we want to make sure that they know what's going on, and we'll be working with Louisville Tourism to make sure that happens. But again, they'll be tuning in to watching what y'all have to say, so as you could run some of this stuff on your crawlers, it would be helpful. So Nulu Festival Saturday, Schnitzelberg Oktoberfest is going on, Strassenfest at 4th Street Live, Butchertown Porktoberfest is Friday, and Flea Off Market is Saturday and Sunday, just amongst a few things. So we'll put together a list of all of this, and you can go to Do 502 or other areas and get the word out to you, the folks that are coming to town. You all may know we are the festival city of North America, and so we do not disappoint when it comes to festivals. And I tell you, just a wonderful, wonderful addition to our city as it relates to festivals has been Danny Wimmer Presents, Danny Wimmer and his entire team. We had a dream with our Bourbonism strategy that someone would come and help us put a bourbon and food festival together. And we got a lot of ideas, but none of them were really quite grand enough. And then along came Danny Wimmer Presents. They knew our city from the Louder Than Life Festival that they had already produced here. They were starting to understand the culture of our city, and they brought a national perspective, feeling like our bourbon heritage, our food heritage here was really underplayed from its prominence that it had on a national perspective. So they put together Bourbon and Beyond. And obviously it blew not just the city of Louisville away, but the international festival scene away as it relates to music, as it relates to art, as it relates to food. So Danny Wimmer and his team have become really great partners with the city in terms of our placemaking strategies around arts, music, food, festivals. So we couldn't be more delighted to have them as a partner here as we move our city forward. So to speak more about Bourbon and Beyond, Louder Than Life, the future of the festivals as well, we're going to hear about that. I want us to kind of jump forward to next year when it's going to be sunny and dry all September. We will be starting with a 2-day country music festival with the biggest names in country music. The following weekend will be a 3-day Bourbon and Beyond, so adding a day to that. And then the next weekend after that will be 3-day Louder Than Life. So Louisville will be the major music scene in North America during that period of time. So all the things that we're doing right now are just preparing us for even bigger things that are going to be happening with our festival and food scene. So to give us an update from Danny Wimmer Presents, please welcome their Chief Executive Officer, Danny Hayes.
Thank you, Mayor. We're obviously disappointed. This is part of the live music festival business. These things happen. We're extremely grateful for the city and how much effort has been put forward in trying to keep both Bourbon and Beyond going. Saturday night, it got very close to having to get shut down Saturday night. It obviously wasn't able to continue Sunday. We fought the good fight to keep Louder Than Life alive, and then it became obvious that we just couldn't. It happens. It doesn't deter us from the city, doesn't change our passion, doesn't change our plans. We're here until you kick us out. So, we love this city, and we just couldn't be more appreciative. The outpouring from fans, the number of people who offered to come out and put teams together to work. That's just incredible, and that doesn't happen in other places. The way in which the city services responded to us has just been overwhelming. I think the press has done a great job keeping everybody posted on events, and has worked with us very well as well. So we're here. What can I answer in terms of questions?
Danny, since you guys didn't do as much work out there already to repair it, have you given any thought to working on the drainage?
You know, our thoughts right now are focused really on three things. You know, one is cleaning up the park, which is a little more challenging this year with all the mud. Second is getting refunds out to all the fans. And then third, as the mayor mentioned, we have a lot of people still coming, and the next focus is messaging to them all the other great things there are to do here in this city. And we're about to get together with Karen immediately after this press conference to develop a strategy. So I think what we can do at the park is we're all going to sit down and figure out, but we first got to get through, you know, the rest of this week. I'm sorry, what was the question? Yeah, there's something called cancellation insurance that we absolutely purchase.
How does this financially impact you all?
Not positively.
Any thoughts of a new venue, putting someplace else next year, or are you staying in Champions Park?
We are so committed to Champions Park. It is just such an incredible property. You know, we're determined to figure out what else we can do to make it work better, but we love that place.
Was there any effort when you knew, okay, we're not going to be able to have this outside? Did you try to think, is there any place inside we can move this? Is there any way we can keep this going this weekend?
We explored every single option you could imagine. Logistics become a huge nightmare. You know, the obvious move was, could we get Nine Inch Nails to play at the Yum Center? Fortunately and unfortunately, Louisville has a comedy event that night. The city's just too busy. And then we also have a production problem. How do we get equipment? You know, we can't really move the equipment that's currently on site. It's just too dangerous to even try to move it. There isn't other available equipment of the size and proportion that we would need. But we spent a lot of time looking into a lot of different alternatives.
What sort of efforts are going on right now at the park? It looks like people are packing up and leaving, but what is that like?
I'm sorry, I can't see who asked that question. Oh, okay. Sorry, you're a little challenged like me.
What's going on at Champions Park right now? It looks like you all are moving things back. Can you just kind of paint the picture for us?
We're very carefully and slowly getting things out that we can get out. There's a lot that we just can't touch until the water resides. There's a major emphasis on cleanup, but again, that can only go so far until the water goes out. We're really at the mercy of the water at the moment.
And then what is the process? What do you think it's going to be like to get Champions Park back to what it looked like before? Have you even thought that far yet?
We talk about it every day, but until we get everything out and we see what it actually looks like, it's just too hard to predict at the moment.
Is there a deadline or anything that you all have to fix things by or anything like that?
As soon as possible.
And then when it comes to the cleanup cost, do you guys have an estimate of how much that'll be, and is it all on you, or does the city partner with you for that price tag?
I have no idea what the cost will be because I have no idea what is required. DWP absolutely will honor its commitment to restore the park to how we found it.
When you have a show of this magnitude with the artists that you had, if there is going to be a cancellation, do you have to give them that cancellation by a certain time? I mean, do they need a certain amount of days?
No.
Okay, I didn't know if there was any kind of cutoff. We have to let them know by this day that we're not doing it.
No, the cutoff is really has to do with the load in. We were supposed to start loading in Monday morning. We had heavy trucks on the way with heavy equipment that needed to go onto the stage. By Wednesday and Thursday, we couldn't get the stage certified. By Tuesday. I'm already messed up on my days. By Tuesday, we couldn't get the stage certified as safe. That wasn't going to be able to happen until at least Friday. At that point, it's impossible to even load equipment onto the stage. So when we realized that, at that point, it was time to make the decision and let people know. And we wanted to give people as much notice. And I know a lot of people wonder, well, why didn't you wait? Why didn't you wait? But what would be the point? We knew we couldn't load in any longer. We knew it wouldn't be safe to load in. And we wanted to give people as much notice as they could to make alternate plans or find other things to do in the city and of course, let the artists know as well.
So what happens to the artists? Do you end up having to pay them, or what happens to the artists?
Yeah, I'd rather not comment on what happens with the artists.
Has the city done anything to, fix the drainage? I guess it's an issue since there's so much water there at Champions Park recently. I mean, you may.
I would say that's a city question.
Yeah, I mean, we've got pumps out there, and we did starting Saturday night. Marty Storch did an incredible job representing the city on site. So, unfortunately, there's just too much coming down and what we can get out there. So I think the important takeaways are that the commitment of DWP to the three festivals, the commitment of the city to work with them, so we can continue to do something really extraordinary, not just for our city, but for the music and food scene in our country. So we're disappointed for our fans, obviously. So our apologies to them, but Mother Nature's running the show. So we'll respect her and then start planning for next year. Karen, would you like to say anything from a Louisville tourism standpoint?
No, the only thing I would just add for the,
Mike.
excuse me, the only thing I would add with the mayor and with Danny is that really since Sunday, we have been working when the show was canceled on Sunday, we reached out very quickly, social media, working closely with the mayor's office, social media team, making sure that they had things to do in our great city, and we're doing that this weekend. There are still a lot of people, if you look at their Facebook, that wants to come to Louisville. So we have a meeting just following this, and we'll be planning that, and we'll get that out to the media as soon as possible.
Some hotels have told us, Karen, that they've had cancellations. Do you have any idea of how many hotels reported to you kind of what they're going through right now?
We don't. We reached out to the hotels very, very quickly on Sunday and said people that are flying home will be leaving on Monday. People that are driving home will be leaving early departures. So let's be kind citizens and let them leave. And looking forward this weekend, the hotels know that this is, Danny Wemmer is a friend and a partner. We said that last week. And so they're looking at the future, and they're looking at working with us on hotels we may fill with the guests that are going to be coming in, but we're not really looking at how many are leaving and what that cancellation is, because we really didn't have another group in the city because it was sold out because of this concert.
Okay, folks, we really gotta cut this off.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Take care.